Hello and welcome to the Play Creators Conference. Thank you for joining us for this Inside the Studio session. And today we are delving inside Open to Design with Matt Burtonwood. Matt, how are you?
Not too bad, Billy. Good to see you.
Good to see you. So these sessions, we find out more about the studio, what you guys do, how it's set up, all that sort of stuff. So if we start naturally at the beginning, for you, were you always a toy nut? Was it always a design? Was there any other careers, jostling for first position? What set you on the path?
I've always been interested in toys and games. But to start out with, I didn't really know that there was a career there. I guess to start off with, but we started off as traditional product designers, and that's what I studied. With the hope that I was going to go and develop and design really cool consumer electronics products. But prior to that, probably 6 years prior to that, I'd spent some time at the theme parks and in Disney World, and I kind of thought, I just want to do anything I can to live in this environment. But like literally to any kind of cast member role, I think I would have taken at that point. But,
see you as Gaston. See that happening.
Gaston, who's the other guy? Who maybe, I don't know. But I didn't know that kind of route to get through to find a job, and I certainly didn't know anything about Imagineering, the kind of creators. I think if I'd known about that then, I think I probably would have taken a slightly different career path. But started designing. I've always wanted. I think one of the luckiest things that I've had so far is that I've always had a rough idea of what I wanted to do. I think that's the hardest thing for kids nowadays is knowing what you want to do, because you have to make decisions fairly quickly. But I kind of knew that I liked making things. A lot when we hear a lot of these conversations, there's usually a story of breaking toys, taking them apart, trying to put them back together again. So initially I just wanted to design the best consumer electronics that we could, or that kind of thing. So like, I guess Apple was the holy grail back then. But went on and we started off doing bits and pieces like that. But I think deep down we've kind of ended up where we naturally would be, which is in toys and games.
Yeah, amazing. And then in terms of a lot of some studios launch when people have been within a toy company and then they leave. Was your route, did you try and go down that sort of working in-house at places before launching? How did you, come to be on your own?
No, not really. So I worked for a design agency in the States 20 years ago, where I was an intern initially, and then I went back as a full-time member of staff, and then I came back to the UK with the goal of I'd worked with some really cool clients at the place I was at, and the goal was to try and continue to work with really cool clients. And we weren't necessarily focused on toys and games at that point. So we didn't start out in toys and games. I didn't have a roster of people that I could go back to. So we've kind of grown organically. One of my old my old boss basically moved to Disney Consumer Products in Glendale, and we basically started working with them on some of their Disney consumer electronics items. And they then, the more we did with them, the more we kind of got exposed to license holders. And then we started working with licensors. And that was kind of like the seed from which it all came. So we were working with Fisher-Price, the Fisher-Price Friends team in New York on things for Jake and the Neverland Pirates. And because Disney would be happy for us to work on those products, because we were kind of we could work within the style. They knew that they were happy for us to work within style guides and that kind of thing. So that was a huge thing, really, that they would kind of not necessarily sign off our role in things, but so we would work with license holders that way, and that was probably, I don't know, 12 to 14 years ago, and gradually we've just kind of moved into different areas. We did a lot of work in Thomas and other licensed products, and then more so into some new IPs.
Yeah, nice. And so, you said toys wasn't the focus. Was there ever a focus? Was it coffee machines? Was it what was the first thing that was your bag?
We've never had a business plan from day one. The business plan was get one client, do something cool for them, tell somebody else that we've done something cool for another client, and gradually just work our way up. Really, just each time trying to get a cooler client, do a good job. Basically, the business model was, if we do a good job, somebody might recommend us, and then we'll get more work, and that way, over deliver as much as you can. Just do the things that people need to have done, support people where you can, and that was it really. So there's never been a focus. Never.
Well, it's worked. It's worked.
Fingers crossed. Touch wood. Quite superstitious. Our first thing we worked on was power tools. We had again a friend and a colleague from university was working for a power tools company. We got a phone call from him to say he'd got a range of 3 tools that he wanted us to work on: an angle grinder, a biscuit joiner, and something else. And it was worth about £4,000 or something. And we knew that covered our costs for a certain amount of time. 20 years ago, it's about covered for about a year. And we did that, and then we did some cool stuff with Electrolux. There were quite a lot. I went to university in the Northeast, and there were quite a lot of manufacturing companies, and still are a couple of those, Black Decker and Flymo, I think, are still there, and Electrolux. So we had some contacts, but not a huge amount. But,
No, that's great. And then in terms of, it's a big move starting your own company, going off on your own. So, before launching Open2, what was it that gave you the confidence, or said, I'm not going to work for another agency, I'm going to set up on my own? What helped make that decision for you?
Didn't have much of way of overheads, really. I was living at home, and I was working with another guy. We went to university together. I think we were both fairly talented. Well, we knew we had a skill set that we could sell, but essentially we had no overheads, and we looked at it and thought we can either do this now, or we can wait 30 years or 20 years, which seems to be another path that you can go down, which is where you feel a bit more secure, and by then potentially your kids have left home or whatever, or you feel a bit more confident. And we just thought, if we do it now, we don't have any pressures on us, and we can use the time to build what we want rather than continue to work. Plus, at the time when I came back from the States, my primary focus was get back where I was, back to California, which was comparable to Huddersfield, but but in some ways better.
That's what they call Huddersfield. They call Huddersfield the California of the UK, right?
Yeah, I think that is what they call it in Huddersfield.
Yeah.
I think it's called something else elsewhere. But so that was my focus, was to get back there. I certainly didn't. I'd just done a big move. The idea of trying to set up a business in London at the time, which we kind of felt would have been necessary to bring in cool clients. But then we thought, no, we'll just try and do it here. We were already remote working back in 2001 or whatever, because we were just working with people all over the world, but we just happened to be based in basically running costs. I go back to the overheads. Believe it or not, really, Huddersfield is not the most expensive. This is going to come like, if you edit this, we once came second in International Business of the Year in Huddersfield.
Okay.
We're a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
Running costs, very cheap.
There we go. Good to know. And then, so we've obviously spoke a lot about your sort of design studio side. So on that side, before we dive into the invention part of what you do, for anyone that hasn't worked with you or hasn't met you yet, what sort of capabilities, what are you doing for other toy companies that you might be able to do for them?
Yeah, so the majority of the work we do is still work for hire. That's still the bit that we enjoy, which I think just comes out my paranoia about paying the mortgage, and essentially just making sure that. But I kind of also enjoy it. It means that we get to work with lots of people. So we're a small agency. There's 3 of us, but we get, by doing work for hire stuff, we get to be part of lots of different teams, meet lots of people, learn a lot from them. And we get involved in everything from kind of workshops and concept sketches, ideation, right through to pretty much kind of pre-production engineering. So we get involved in presentation boards, 3D development, which I think what we're working on today. Like CMF guides, pretty much everything, prototyping, and then we'll use we have vendors that we use for kind of core skills in terms of prototyping and model making as well.
Yeah.
But I would say the majority of our time within work for hire is more at the front end. I always joke that I have a fairly low attention span, and the fast fun bit at the start is always more interesting to me. Ben tends to support me with that by picking up the more intense thinking parts of things that he makes. He makes the stuff work, but we've kind of come. So yeah, that's the bit. The fun bit.
Nice. And then, so, obviously doing work for hire for the likes of, Tommy and Fisher Price and all these other toy companies that you've done work for.
Yeah.
What then opened your eyes to Invention? What sort of made you give that a go in more recent years?
Yeah, I guess we've always been aware of the inventor side of things. A lot of the work that we used to do with on Fisher Price and Thomas would be that we'd get given an inventor mech or something cool and interesting, or a new way of doing something cool with Thomas, and then we would be asked to effectively make it look nice or theme it to a particular. We might get a script, so we knew what was happening in the show, but we have a mechanism. We kind of put the two things together and turn it into hopefully a cool product. So we were aware of it. We just hadn't really put our focus into that, and I think essentially was because we didn't, we probably didn't have the confidence to step back as much from our day-to-day work. Let's speculate on something cool. But I think, like a lot of designers, you always have something running in the background. You've always got a side project that you're working on, or an outlet for doing things. And then we had the opportunity to. The first thing we pitched really was the Rubik's Cage, which we did with the Mojo. You guys did the event with Rubik's where you invited agencies to pitch some products, and ultimately we were successful with that, and that kind of gave us a bit of, then we kind of got the book. We thought, I always tell the story about my parents telling me that the worst thing that can happen when you gamble is if you win the first time, and I feel like it was a bit like that with pitching. We were really lucky, and because we kind of entered that pitch as a bit of a learning curve and an opportunity to learn about the process, learn about the mechanics of pitching and the economics of it to some extent. And so that it was really exciting. And so we thought, well, let's do a little bit more of it, but try. It is difficult to kind of separate your brain, separate your time, probably more importantly, to those two different things, and just finding a balance with that. But it's something we hope to do more of as we get more opportunities to do that. And then I think we were all worried going into the COVID world, whenever it was, what effect that will have on the workflow. Essentially, it didn't make that much difference, but we did think at that time it might give us more of an opportunity to work on some of our own ideas. But so
nice.
I've done a few things, yeah.
Great. So Rubik's Cage was your first sort of licensed game out. Are there any others that have come out in recent years that you're allowed to tell us about, talk about?
Yeah, we've got a couple more games out this year, and we kind of still seem to be more in the game space. It feels like feels more accessible. I don't know if it is, or for whatever reason we have more game ideas than we do toy at the moment. But there are a few toy things that we're working on. We've got a game coming out this fall with Ginger Fox, which is a really cool game called Play Your Number, which
is just there. There it is, and we can get a Swish graphic to pop up at this point. Not that a slow rotating chair and a point doesn't do it for us, but we can.
Wait, put a link to the website.
That's it.
Link to Amazon. Might be on there.
Which is what this has been all about, isn't it?
We did Ahoy There, which is a card game that we're doing with Tommy as well. I think we pitched both of these. I don't want this to be a really overt advert for Mojo. If you want to come, if you want us to pitch to you,
that's it. And that's a pop-up pirate sort of spin-off.
Yeah. It uses the pop-up pirate IP. It's all about collecting treasure, and the idea of I'm not just reading the instructions. It's about collecting treasure and who can get the most loot.
Great. Nice.
Not just priority voices. So there
That's
is why a pirate's called pirates, because they are. You have
There you go. This has taken us right back to your auditions to be in the parks, right? It's a bit of Jack Sparrow.
I could be Jack Sparrow. I've been told not to do this.
I was going to say he is Northern Irish, isn't he? That is very comfortable.
I don't know.
And then moving on from that, in terms of sort of your approach to, you mentioned it there. One of the things when we speak to designers and inventors is that juggling act between spending time inventing, spending time designing. Sort of, is there a method to it? Is there a way to manage it, or do you just find that do they inform each other as well? Do you find that stuff you're working on with clients sometimes helps, open your eyes or gives you a steer in terms of what you could pitch?
I'd like to think it might do in the future. It's not happened yet. We've not been privy to a kind of we've got this major program working. Hey guys, why don't you, we'd love you to pitch some things along that. That hasn't happened. And I'd like to say that there is some kind of master plan, and that there is. I'm sure there is a plan, but it's nothing. There's no real. It's we literally work. Well, we just what comes in we get on with, and we're trying to do is we've got 4 or 5 things that I guess the biggest frustration is where you get that little nibble on an idea, and and it's being able to react quick enough to get that and get it developed, and that's kind of ongoing frustration that we've got at the moment. But we've always been super cautious in terms of how we've grown the business and where we've kind of taken risks, and now we're kind of at a point where we kind of hope we're feeling a bit more confident to do things, potentially bring in external help or bring in people to maybe get some of those things over the line. Now we've seen that there is a process there is an industry there, there's a direct route to market that we can might take a little bit of money to filter down, but it means that we can do things knowing that there's a purpose to it, and it's worth taking a risk.
Yeah.
Beyond just the coolness of going, that's our cool product on the shelf. Which go back to the start. That's essentially that was our business plan, was to see cool stuff on shelves. And I remember we got something on the front of the Argos catalogue. That was always a dream. Yeah,
amazing. And then in terms of this series is called Inside the Studio. In terms of your workspace, is it we speak to people. Some people really value having a creative environment, and they find that where they're working really helps them ideate and helps what they're putting out. Other people put less emphasis on that sort of stuff. Where do you fall in terms of your environment, the studio, making that a creative space? How much does that feed into what you're doing?
Yeah, no, it's probably the most important thing. Well, it's really important for me that I kind of where we were at. On a practical level, we'll often find ourselves doing lots of things with eyes, like kids, and I'm surrounded by lots of different figures and characters, and trying to, we have physical reference points for things, so that beyond Pinterest, we live in a Pinterest board, basically. The office, there you go, that's the headline. We're inspired. We have lots of product samples lying around. The office is an organized mess of stuff. The plan, we're building a new space in the basement for to kind of improve our video capability, and at some point we'll have to get you back in, Billy. Because that's going to be cool.
And more importantly, I think for any toy company execs reading this when they're doing their sweeps, thinking we'll drop in Huddersfield, there is a Tiki Bar coming, right? To what
there is a rumor that there's going to be a Tiki Bar. Again, a lot of this comes down to my confidence moving forward. Do we put in a really boring traditional, and you can check in 12 months' time and see, did he ball it, or did he fit out?
Nice. You'll be giving out grass skirts at the door when people come in to see
for sure. Again, I'm not saying it all goes back to Disney World, but if you we're huge fans of the Polynesian Hotel. It's really nice.
Is that behind you? Is that a link into the Tiki thing there? I can see Tiki.
Oh, that's the Tiki room. My poster. Yeah, we've still got those up. Right. Yeah, the Tiki room.
There we go. Well, that's sold. I think a lot of people watching this will have would have said open with the Tiki Bar announcement, and we'll book off.
Yeah, I think so. We're gonna set it up as a private members club for the toy industry. For anybody in the Huddersfield area is welcome to drop in and have a Mai Tai or some kind of rum-based cocktail. And that's the plan. But
flights to Huddersfield are going to go through the roof.
Well, we're 1 hour from Manchester, really.
Oh, okay. Manchester,
and then yeah, so you can fly in from a few places. But not at the moment. Yeah, so that's
amazing. And then my sort of last question, in terms of what you guys do to help yourself have ideas, how you stay creative, what inspires some of the stuff you're coming up with, what do you find helps top that tank up for you guys?
No, again, it comes back to the space and just having cool stuff, or not cool stuff, having stuff around you that is part of. I think we've spoke to DJ some point in the past about creativity as well, and just it is that idea of always being on, but kind of like on standby, ready for something to happen. And you'll see a mechanism, or you'll see a play pattern in everything. And then it's kind of how do you translate that, and you've just got to be aware of, things happening and surrounding yourself, having the opportunity, giving yourself the opportunity to have ideas as well, but equally the reverse of that is pressure. We always, a deadline is always really useful. We always like the pitch in September or whenever, because it gives us a deadline to work towards, which then automatically prioritizes some of the things that you might be thinking about, gets you thinking in certain areas. You can go down the route of looking at trends and different things, but essentially, a lot of the pitch meetings that we have, it's always about trying to find something different, something that's not already out on the market. And if everybody's looking at the same trends and the same, things that are really cool right now, you're going to come up with very similar ideas. So sometimes it's about just trusting in your judgment and your own weirdness to try and think of something that either doesn't exist, or pull something from a completely different industry into toys and games, or I'm always wanting to do something with a mechanism from a pop-up toaster, because you'll see they're always still exciting, isn't it? Toast pops up, wow, a toast pops up. So you'll see stuff like that, and you think it's got to be something that we can do with that. I guess pop-up pilot. So somebody was probably looking at a toaster when they did that. So environment is key, time is key, pressure, and it's kind of a combination of all of those things that help create a spark of something that turns into something else. And talking to people as well, I think, is important. On Rubik's Cage, I know, so we had an idea, but I remember talking to Steve about Rubik's Cage, and Steve offered up some suggestions on the gameplay, and that just took it to the next level as well. So it's useful to share ideas and get people to build on them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. Good stuff, mate. That's great. So thank you so much for that, mate. And it's a really good insight into what you're doing. In terms of anyone is listening to this and thinks, oh, we want to reach out, what's the easiest way they can get in touch with you and Open to Design?
Yeah, email is good. I check all my email all the time.
Cool.
All the time.
Yeah. And what is the email? Read it out.
I try and keep it covert. Matt, MATT, at open2design.com, and it's the number 2. That will get straight through to us.
Perfect. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Matt. I really appreciate this, and thank you guys for watching. And we'll all catch up again very soon.
Cool. Cheers, Billy.